Heather Honey is not a detective, lawyer, or physician, nor does she play one on YouTube. Although, she does have a Bachelor's of Science degree in education. Opinions are her own because she is stingy.
This is a true crime channel. Some videos may have content that is disturbing to some and contain coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, friends. It has been a long time since I've made a video. A lot has happened. Back in November, I lost my balance and fell and broke my ankle and my fibula and had to have emergency surgery. So I've been recovering from that. And so now I'm back just in time for the trial of the Commonwealth versus Karen Read. So let me get started about this case. In August of 2023, I was watching Surviving the Survivor. I'm a huge fan of Joel and his sweet mom, Carm, and I watched their show religiously. Joel goes over like different crimes and cases, whether they're well known or not, and he'll have like a panel of guests with diverse, reputable backgrounds to discuss the case with him. This episode that I was watching in August of last year was about a woman who backed over her police officer boyfriend with her car and killed him. And I'm going to tell you, that really got my attention.
Doctor, and we have two other guests, Tom Simon from the FBI, Lara Uretzian, a very skilled criminal defense attorney, and Wendy Murphy.
I know she lies.
Really?
Yeah.
Not really. We
I
don't
know
know
she's
her.
a liar. I just listened to her make up a bunch of lies.
So after viewing the whole show, my mind was blown. First off, I don't like Wendy Murphy. She monopolizes every discussion panel she is on, and she's obnoxious. So I was really intrigued to see this guy, known as Turtleboy, call her out, and he had the facts to back up what he was saying, and it was amazing. So I began watching his live streams to learn more about this case and in hopes to make it make sense to my problem-solving mind. And Turtleboy, well, that's a whole nother story. But to talk about Karen Read and John O'Keefe, you have to include Turtleboy. So I will talk about him on another day. But first, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of things. Number one, I back the blue. You can go and check my pages and you will see that I support law enforcement, but I don't support corrupt police officers and law enforcement. Some other things I want to mention is I want to thank several content creators for keeping me and so many others up to date with the Karen Read case and the mysterious death of Officer John O'Keefe. Turtleboy, who was the first to bring this case to light, and fighting for the rights of independent journalists to the point where he was actually arrested and placed in jail for 60 days because of this case. And he could have said, okay, I'll plead out or whatever, and he not, stay in jail. But he chose to, stick to what he felt was right. And so I have to give him props for that. And so be sure to check out his channel, and his information will be in the description of the video. Brandi Churchwell with the 13th Juror podcast and live stream. She is known for her amazing charts and spreadsheets. She takes all this data and information that like you'll hear about in trials and cases, and she will turn them into visual masterpieces that are so easy to understand and follow. So check her out, and she has phenomenal charts about the who's who in this case. So and she also has a podcast called the Canton Cover Up. I believe that's correct. And it's fantastic. And it is also rising up the true crime podcast charts. So definitely check it out. And the links to her sites will be down in the description as well. The next person I want to talk about is the Glarer. He is the kind of creator that likes to see and hear the facts before he makes a decision, which I really like. He tells it like it is, whether you like it or not. So he's not for everybody, but I enjoy him. I appreciate his way of thinking. He gets you to look at things in different aspects. It doesn't matter whose side you're on or what your opinion is. He really gets your mind going. So definitely check out his channel. And again, his information will be down below in the description. Another one is Brian with LTL True Crime. He is extremely knowledgeable about this case. He also ran Turtleboy's channel while he was in jail, which I thought was amazing because that's truly a kind person. And out in this world, there's not a lot of kind people, especially on the internet, especially YouTube content creators. So it was really nice to see some get together and help Turtleboy out while he was in jail so that he could, they were doing it to try to raise money because, he had to get an attorney. And he still has some legal battles that he is having to fight along the way, but that's a story for another day. But anyways, Brian also has great interviews with like some of the locals in Canton, and also he introduced me into a lot of us to Melanie Little, who I want to talk about next. Attorney Melanie Little is probably the only attorney who is truly invested in this case besides Karen Reed's defense team. She is a great legal analyst. She's open too, but when she looks at the facts and, the facts, she's truly fact-based, and I really appreciate that about her. And she's just got this pizzazz about her that, it's you really want to pay attention and see what she has to say. So I'll have her information as well down in the description. And then lastly, I want to mention about Tom CPU. Tom is a local there, and he stands outside the courthouse, and I feel like it's every time that either Karen has a hearing or Turtleboy has a hearing. And so when you're watching Tom, he streams live, and you feel like you're actually there in Canton. And in Dedham is where the courthouse is, but you really feel like you're there, and you're getting to see the people protesting against what they feel is not right. And that is, they feel like there is a cover-up there, and this case, and they believe that Karen Reed is innocent. And so they protest peacefully outside of the courthouse. They are not looting. They are not being disruptive and tearing up the town and, setting things on fire. They are actually peacefully protesting. And you can just see the camaraderie of them through Tom's videos, and it makes me want to go there and stand with them. So it's really, really important. And I appreciate Tom, what he's doing, because what this footage that he is capturing, it's going to make, I'm going to say, some kind of history, because this case is going to change a lot of lives.
I don't know. I remember looking at it. Obviously, I look at stories like this, and I just didn't have a take on it. Like when I remember seeing the headlines that a Boston police officer was run over in a driveway by his girlfriend in a snowstorm, and that she didn't realize she had done it until afterwards. And I went on her LinkedIn, and I'm like, I remember looking at her thing. I'm like, oh man, this woman's sharp. Normally you don't expect that. Like, college educated, works at a university, work good with numbers. Like, you'd probably want to hire her. And it's like, but everybody makes mistakes,
Hey guys, Brandi Churchwell here from 13th Juror Podcast. If you are following the Karen Reed case, you know that one of the most debated arguments is whether or not the search for How Long to Die in the Cold was searched by Jen McCabe at 2:27 a.m. or if it only showed up at 2:27 a.m. on the report, but it was really done later on, like after 6 a.m. when John's body was found. Now, this debate has suddenly turned all of social media into software programmers and cell data experts, and it seems that most people tend to agree with whichever explanation suits the theory of their chosen side. So I decided to go straight to a software developer and programmer who doesn't care anything about sides or who's right or wrong, and ask him to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old.
Yeah, because you're not going to just jump to the conclusion that there's a conspiracy amongst cops to cover up a murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, cops and just like soccer moms and shit. Like, that's what made it.
How is everybody doing?
Hey everyone.
What's happening, everybody?
As usual, I started talking before I was unmuted.
That's fine. That's fine. Nice to see everybody here. Great to see the chat filling in. And yeah, I wanted to start the show off. Paul and I were talking backstage, and Dana and Tracy just have a few things to say. If you are going down to the courthouse to work out some of the logistics, because they did Paul put out a post earlier, and he said there's probably a lot of questions that would come in. So I'll give the floor to Paul and let him go through some of the logistics for tomorrow.
Tracy and Dan, if they want to chime in too, please do.
Yeah.
But I put that post out there tomorrow. As everyone knows, is the first opening arguments of tomorrow. I know everybody on the screen is ready for tomorrow. Everyone that's going to be on the courthouse is ready for tomorrow. There's going to be a shit ton of media there. And like you guys thought a lot of media was there last week.
Yeah.
As far as media goes, it's going to be a zoo. But the biggest thing we have to realize is the buffer zone is still in place.
I can't even imagine what Karen Reed has been going through for the past 2.5 years. I can't even imagine. But it's starting today, and justice is coming. And I really, really believe it. I really believe it firmly. There is going to be some things that I think we're going to hear about that, for the general public who has not really been following this trial, and I think there are a lot of those people as well, they're going to be perhaps blown away by what we've learned about the investigation of this murder of a Boston police officer. They are going to be blown away by how the investigation was handled, by the lack of even just due care that this investigation of a Boston police officer's death received from the minute they found his body on the front lawn of 34 Fairview in Canton, Massachusetts. And
we're here. Everybody together. We're all here for Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. That's what brought us all together.
Okay, cool. Hey, what's
Are you a witness?
I am a witness.
Good, give me a hug. How are you? Good to see you again.
Good, honey. Good.
Good to see you. How's
Awesome.
everything?
Everything's great.
Good.
This is her first time here. Hi,
This
she's
is the
from
first
East
time?
Bridgewater.
East Bridgewater? I'm from Whitman.
Nice
My neighbor. How are you?
Good, how are you?
You could have jumped in my truck. We'd had a nice ride up.
Tom's live.
Tommy. Hey. We know you. Man, you guys, see, this is all the time now.
We got our little...
So again, please check out those content creators, subscribe to their channel, like their videos. They're really putting out some good information about this trial, and all of them are covering or they're live streaming the trial that started today. And so anyway, I actually watch them all. I'll pick one of them and watch it live, then I'll go and watch someone else's later after that. That's just how much I learned from all of these people. So again, please check them out. So now let's talk about the people that are, I guess you would say, involved in this case. And so this one is going to be the Who's Who video, and it's going to be part one. There's just so many people involved in this that I couldn't go over everyone in one video. So, of course, I want to bring up the victim, which is Officer John O'Keefe. Officer John O'Keefe was a 46-year-old Boston police officer who passed away on January the 29th, 2022 under mysterious circumstances. He was the guardian of his niece and nephew who, due to unfortunate death of his sister, and then a few months later, the death of her husband. So John became their guardian. He was also in a relationship with Karen Reed at the time of his death. So next, let's talk about the suspect, Karen Reed. Karen Reed is an independent, educated woman, and I want to bring that out because most cases when you hear, oh, some woman ran over her boyfriend, you always think like domestic violence was involved. What else? Money and a lot. Yeah, money plays a lot in some of these crimes, but so I just wanted to let you know that Karen was, independent, educated. She made her own money. She had a career in finance and was an adjunct professor at a college. Karen also lived with John along with his niece and nephew. And again, I'm just going to give you just quick basic facts because this case has been going on so long and I've been watching it. Oh, August will be a year. So I just want to try to short and sweet because it can be overwhelming. So now I want to go over what I call the Canton crew. And I just use that term collectively because this is the group of people who were there that night or had some kind of, I don't know, they were there, showed up later. I don't know. It's wild and crazy. So I tried to break this down as easy as possible. But again, check out Brandi Churchwell's Hers is amazing and super detailed and easy to follow. She has this cute little key on the side that tells you like who was in the house and who was not and who's this and who's that. So definitely check her out. But in the meantime, I'll do my little puny one that I made. Okay, so the house that you're looking at in the middle is where John O'Keefe's body was found that night. It was snowing, and his body was found. If you're looking at that picture, it was to the left. There was actually a flagpole. It was somewhere close to the flagpole in the yard. But anyway, so if you're looking at the house, it was a little bit to the left. And like I said, it had been snowing. But this is Brian Albert and his wife, Nicole. They, of course, own and live at 34 Fairview. And Brian Albert Jr. was there that night. He was having a birthday party. So the story goes like the Alberts were out drinking, and then they came home and invited some others back to the house. So, but in the meantime, before they got home, Brian Albert Jr. was there for his birthday party. Caitlin Albert was there that night. And then Chloe, the Albert's German Shepherd. And this is not an actual picture of her, but you get the gist. So I'm going to break these people down, and then I'm going to do like part of the timeline. So we just talked about Brian and Nicole. So Nicole, her sister, Jennifer McCabe, or everybody, she's known as Jen McCabe when talked about, and Matt McCabe is Jen's husband. They were there that night. And you will hear about Jen McCabe a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. I actually have a t-shirt that has her name on it because of this case. And I'll wear it this week and you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's move on to the first part of the timeline. So, basically, let me tell you this much. It was, people were out, let's just say, bar hopping and ran into acquaintances, and it was like, hey, come on back to the house and we'll hang out and drink a little more or whatever. So that was the gist of the night. So this is the actual timeline. I did not go into too much details. It's just too overwhelming to try to cram into one video. So I'm going to start off at 10:54 p.m. on January 28th. Officer John O'Keefe and his girlfriend Karen arrive at the Waterfall Bar. And when they get there, Nicole and Brian Albert are there. Jen and Matt McCabe are there. Julie Albert, who I'll discuss later, was there, but she left, I believe, due to a headache. So, but in other words, it was people just hanging out and talking or, whatever. So at 12 a.m., Nicole and Brian Albert leave the waterfall, and Jen and her husband, Matt McCabe, leave the waterfall. And then at 12:10 a.m., Karen is seen by surveillance video leaving the waterfall with two females. And this is nothing suspicious. This, when you see the video, it's just her walking with like two acquaintances, laughing and just, leaving. It's just, it's fact that, okay, we know that Karen left the waterfall at 12:10. And then right after that, John is seen on video leaving at 12:11 a.m. And he has a glass in his hand. So he walked out of the bar with a glass in his hand. drinking glass, cocktail glass. The prosecution calls it different things. Whatever the case, he walked out of the bar with a glass in his hand that he drank out of. Call it what you want. All right, so then from 12:21 a.m. to 12:24 a.m., remember, everybody, okay, so the Alberts are heading home, and Jen and her husband are heading over there. And somehow, John is invited to come over, and I guess Karen as well. They knew John more. Karen just kind of knew him. They weren't too, they weren't like friends. They were acquaintances. So after getting directions from Jim McCabe, it was like John had called and was like, hey, we need directions. And then Jen texted him, the address. And it was just back and forth texting between that time of 12:21 a.m. to 12:24 a.m. And so after that, Karen and John arrive at Brian and Nicole Albert's house. Okay, now back to I just want to talk about a couple other people so that you will at least have, know names or they sound familiar. So I'm calling these friends. Remember I told you Brian Albert Jr. was having his birthday party while his parents were at the waterfall. They're older, so it wasn't like they were sneaking, I guess. I don't know. But whatever. They were there at the home. And so Julie Nagel is a friend of Brian Albert Jr. and Sarah Levinson was a friend of Brian Albert Jr.'s that was there that night. Brian Higgins is a friend of Brian Albert's, and he is an ATF officer. He is also, I'm going to say rumored. It could be hearsay. I don't know. I didn't hear it from Karen's mouth, and I haven't heard it from his mouth. So I'm just going to tell you what has been said is that when John and Karen was having some trouble, just like any other normal couples do, maybe they broke up for a bit. I don't know. But her and Brian Higgins had a flirtatious moment. Maybe even a kiss was exchanged, but then Karen didn't want to have anything else to do with him. So keep him in mind because he was at the house that night. I don't know if he was at the waterfall beforehand, but he was at the Albert's house when everybody got there. All right. So then going back to the timeline. So at 12:45 p.m., Jim McCabe texted John, hello. And the reason she does this is because when Karen and John pulled up to the Albert's house, Karen had pulled up in front of the house and they were sitting there. And I'm not sure. I think they might have been arguing or I don't know. Maybe he was like, hey, come in. And she's like, I don't want to. It has been reported that she wanted to go home because her stomach was hurting. And I totally get that. I've had boyfriends that would want to go to places and I was like, I'm going home because I didn't want to hang out anymore. So, but whatever. So they're sitting in the car and Jim McCabe was like, hello, texting like, are you going to come in or what? Is basically what I got from that. Then it was reported that Jim McCabe saw Karen's Lexus SUV leave 34 Fairview. I guess she was looking out the window. I don't know. It was snowing. I don't know. But anyways, so here we go with some weird stuff. At 1 a.m., so 15 minutes later, Nicole Albert states all the guests have left. Like, no guests that came over there are still there. But then, in Brian Higgins' statement at 1:30, he says he left 34 Fairview and went to Canton Police Department to do some paperwork. Okay. This is another thing that is kind of shady about this case is these people have given different statements. They had to give statements for the grand jury. And then there is also a federal investigation going on into the district attorney's office in Norfolk County and a state trooper because of this case. But again, we'll get into that later. The point is, these people have given like 2 sets of statements and they don't match up. So what they said in the beginning doesn't match up with the second set of I don't know. It is a mess, and I'm telling you, I am glad I am not in it. But back to Brian Higgins. Why would you, after hanging out with your buds and throwing back some beers, why would you go to work and do paperwork? And how accurate is your work going to be if you're inebriated? I mean, and he's law enforcement, so he really needs to make sure his I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But I guess he went. I don't know. I just think that's odd. And even if he wasn't drinking, why are you leaving somebody's house and then go to work at 1:30 a.m.? I don't know. It's just weird. So at 1:47 a.m., Jen and Matt McCabe leave, and they decide to take, remember I told you about Brian Albert Jr.'s friends that were over for his birthday party? Okay, so they decided to take Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson home. So they all left at 1:47. So again, Nicole Albert said everybody left at 1. Well, here we are already at 1:47 a.m. and people are still leaving. So I don't know what that was about. So fast forward to 2:27 a.m. Jen McCabe Googles, and I put text on this, and that's incorrect. She Googled, hosts long to die in cold. So, in other words, it was supposed to be how long to die in cold, but she made a mistake typing and it came out hosts. So, why is Jim McCabe Googling how long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m.? John wasn't found until sometime after 5. So why is she up texting that? Googling that. That right there had it for me. I want you to make your own decision. But when I heard that someone that was at the house where John O'Keefe's body was found on the lawn, and this person was Googling how long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m., to me, Karen is innocent. Karen did not run over him. And I'll go into more of the reasons I think for that later. But I just wanted to let you know, in my timeline, as I was learning all this information, that right there was the turning point for me, because I do try to be open-minded when I'm in these cases. I want to look at the facts like I'm a juror, or, I just want to be open-minded, because you just never know. But that was the turning point for me right there, was when I found out about the Google. All right. So another person that I wanted to introduce, and no biggie, it's just you'll hear her name come up, and her name is Carrie Roberts. She was a friend of John's, and Karen knew her. So, but I think she was like maybe like grew up with John or whatever the case, but she'll be coming up on the timeline. And so I wanted you to know who she was and be familiar with her name. Okay, so we're going to the third part of the timeline. So we're now at 4:53 a.m. Karen calls Jen McCabe because John has not come home. She woke up. She thought he might have been home. He was not. She called his cell phone, left voicemails and hang up calls, and was mad. And she went through that, I'm sure, back and forth of worrying and being mad. I mean, I've been there. I didn't know where my boyfriend was. I would call a gazillion times, leave voicemails, and to the point I just gave up. But she didn't. She didn't give up. She called Jen and she was like, John has not come home. So at 5 o'clock, Karen leaves to go to Jen's house. And there is video footage that I'll show in another video where Karen is backing out and she backs into John's car. Some people don't think she did, but I think you can actually see on the video, you can see John's car move slightly. And again, it's up to your interpretation. I'm just telling you what I think and what a lot of people think. And then some people says it didn't. But it's important because this talks about the possibility that Karen's taillight was cracked at that moment at 5 a.m. Okay? Remember, she left John back at 12, whatever time, 12:45 or 12:35. And so now we're at 5 a.m. And so this is where there's evidence of Karen, backing into John's car. And that could be possibly when she cracked her taillight. And like I said, I'll go into that video detail later in another video. So moving along, sometime after 5. Now this is where I'm not really for sure how this worked out, but Jen. Okay, so Karen gets to Jen. I think Karen may have called Carrie. I don't know if she called Carrie or if Jen called Carrie, but whatever. Somebody called Carrie Roberts. So Carrie meets Jen and Karen back at John's house. So I don't know why Karen went to Jen's house and then they left and went back to John's house and met Carrie. I don't know. Maybe Karen wanted to leave her car and didn't want to drive because she was panicking. I don't know, but that's one thing I'm not sure. And I'm hoping that with the testimonies that come out in trial, we'll get a little more information about that. So, but anyway, so sometime at this time, they meet up with Carrie. So Carrie is driving and Jim McCabe is with her and Karen is sitting in the back seat and they drive back to 34 Fairview. And Karen, not the two ladies in front, but Karen sees John lying in the snow. So at 6:04 a.m., a 911 call was placed to Canton Police Department. And that was the call to let them know that assistance was needed at 34 Fairview. Okay, so going back to, again, more of the Canton crew that I wanted to talk about. Okay, so remember we talked about Brian Albert. He was the one that owns the home. And so I'm going to talk about his brother, Chris Albert. Chris is on the select board. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. It's like a councilman here where I live. So he's on, or the board of select board of select, whatever, of Canton. And he's married to Julie Albert. And Julie is the one, remember I told you went at the waterfall, she was there, but she left because she had a headache. And then I'm also going to talk about Colin Albert. So here's things that's weird about, you remember how I told you statements didn't match from the grand jury testimony to the federal investigation testimonies that these witnesses had to make? But come to find out, Chris Albert was at 34 Fairview that night. I don't think Julie Albert was there, based on what I've paid attention to. And again, this is all crazy. But Colin Albert was there, but there were statements saying at first he wasn't there. So it was like, why are people not saying, why are witnesses saying these people were not there in the beginning, but now they're there? So it's just really, weird. Like, why is your testimony changing? What are you hiding? These are questions I'm thinking. What is going on? It's just shady business. So next, I want to introduce you to Karen's defense team. First off, we have Dave Yannetti. He is a Boston criminal defense attorney. And I think one thing I like about him is he comes off polite, yet he's passionate about his job and defending his clients. I believe Karen made the right decision choosing him as her attorney. And you'll find out, if you don't already know, that in today's opening statements, he really dropped some bombs that a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, I mean like the public, had no idea. Like, no rumors were heard of that I was aware of. And it was really shocking. And I don't know, my mouth was gaped open the entire time during his opening statement. So I can't wait to go over that part with you guys, because it was really, really good. The next one I want to talk about is Alan Jackson. Now, Mr. Jackson is a California attorney. He has handled high-profile cases like Kevin Spacey and Phil Spector. He has a great understanding of technology and data software programs like Celebrite, and that's really helpful in when he is discussing all these technology and testing and software programs in his arguments. Because when you watch, or the cases I've watched, a lot of attorneys struggle with technology. And they're busy, researching or, doing whatever they're needing to do for their clients. They're not practicing on a computer how to do all this stuff. So it's just really impressive that he knows his stuff. So, and then Elizabeth Little is an attorney with Alan Jackson in California. She appears to be extremely knowledgeable. I'm impressed. She, knows her case laws, and I think she just really digs in and does a lot of research, and she has all her notes, and she can tell you what date she did what. And I'm just really impressed by her. Her voice tends to shake a bit when she's talking, but don't let that fool you, because I have seen her hold her own against this judge in this case. And so I think this team is extremely strong, and they are a force to be reckoned with. So I wanted to go over so much more in this first video, but it's impossible. The death of Officer John O'Keefe and Karen Reed's case are like a never-ending labyrinth with rabbit holes at every turn. The trial started today. There are going to be full days of court on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and they'll have half days of court on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So due to my schedule, I'll do like a mix of live streams. I may have to do like court day recaps later on in the evenings and some reactions to what we find out. And I'll probably add in some more videos of these who's who and some just some parts and pieces along the way leading up to this trial that I feel are important that I wanted to share. So look for that. But let's see. Before I finish up, I just want to say this, and those that have been following this case will know who I'm talking to and what this is about. But I want to address to the Canton 9 and all the Free Karen Read supporters, you all are amazing, standing up for what you believe in, and you have inspired me to do the same. I have learned that the rights of American citizens are being destroyed. I have literally been naive. I don't know. I just felt like this is stuff that didn't happen in our country. And this case has opened my eyes, and I am no longer that naive person. What the scariest thing about this case is, what is happening to Karen Read, Turtleboy, and the Canton 9 could happen to me, it could happen to you, it could happen to anyone. So this case is really, really important to me. And that's why I'm taking the time to make these videos. Yes, I am in support of Karen Read. People that are protesting at the courthouse, the judge has made a mandatory buffer zone, meaning they cannot protest within 200 feet of the courthouse. And that's sad. And when these people are protesting, they're not like burning down stores and tearing the town up. They're holding signs like you saw in Tom's video, the clip that I showed. They're just, there's a camaraderie there. They all believe in something. They are seeing things going wrong in their town, and they want it to be better. They want things to be right and done in the right way. And they want Karen Read to be exonerated, or, this case be acquitted. I don't know the correct terminology. Whatever the case, free Karen Read. And on top of that, the judge has also made it to any police officer that comes in that courthouse to either as a witness or is in the gallery cannot wear their uniform. I don't understand that. It makes no sense, but they can't. Also, if you are in support of Karen Read, you'll see in videos people wearing free Karen Read t-shirts. I have a t-shirt that you'll see me wear in some of my videos. They're not allowed to wear that in the courthouse. Some person is telling these people what they can and cannot wear. This is the 21st century. Blows my mind. thinking back to all these other cases where there were protesters outside and excuses about tainting the jury, whatever, the jury will do their job. It doesn't matter what people are wearing. So then, since people were told they could not wear Karen Read attire, or even, there's people that are wearing Justice for John O'Keefe, and that's fine too, but they can't wear theirs either. So those that are in support of Karen are wearing pink. So if you see people like me with a pink shirt, or men with pink ties or pink shirt, if you see pink, then more than likely these people are in support of Karen Read. And to make sure that she receives a fair trial, and leading up to this trial, she has not been treated the way a defendant should have been treated. Whether you think she is innocent or guilty, she deserves a fair trial. And it is just upsetting to know that these people can't wear what they want to wear to support, to be there for her. And I don't know, it makes me extremely sad that it has come to this. But I'm also glad that it's being brought to attention to the public about what is going on. And it's time for some changes to be made there, and not just there. I'm sure there's changes that need to be made all over this country. But we have to start small. We have to start in our own towns and work our way up before things can even start to be on the right track. I know I'm being a little bit optimistic, but without optimism, what do I have? So anyways, thank you for watching this episode. It was, again, very important to me. And please like and subscribe my channel. Also, click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the future videos and live streams that I do. So until next time, be aware of your surroundings. Please stay safe and do the right thing.